Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started, bring it together. Welcome. I'm Lucy. I'm one of the Festival Planning Committee members and also one of the curators for tonight's show.
And I'm Mark, also one of the committee members and also one of the curators tonight. Lucy, yeah, thank you. We will be your co-host for tonight. We're so glad to be here and thank you so much for joining us at the fourth event of this year's APAture Festival.
We are so excited to have both a live audience and also a Zoom audience. So for those of you who are joining us on Zoom, we do have closed captioning. You can go ahead and press that little CC button below the Zoom window to enable that and be able to follow along with us throughout the night.
It's no longer on the Zoom service.
Never mind.
Your live, I put a link to live stream to YouTube.
Great. There is a YouTube live stream link, not Zoom.
Great. So this year, our festival theme is autonomy. And as we celebrate Kearney Street Workshop's 50th anniversary, we ask ourselves, what does it mean for our communities to find autonomy in our art, in our practices, and in our lived experiences? How do we ensure our autonomy in spaces that continue to limit, disrupt, and minimize our existence?
So to help us answer some of these very big questions, we have gathered to celebrate the work of Christine No, Antman Mentel Mendoza, Jen Sun, Susan Calvillo, Erin Fay, and Diana Fu.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we do have a few acknowledgements that we'd like to make. First of all, we acknowledge that we are still in a global pandemic that disproportionately affects the lives of the poor, the incarcerated, Black, Indigenous, and disabled folks and people of color. We understand that as COVID-19 continues to spread, that the various communities we belong to may be impacted in different ways. We wish you and your loved ones health and safety during this time, and we thank you for spending the evening with us. We are also really grateful to be gathered in community here at Art Studios and Gallery, but we want to acknowledge that we would not be here without benefiting from colonization and the unceded Ohlone land that many of us live on today.
We'd also like to thank our sponsors for their support of the festival, including Grants for the Arts, the San Francisco Arts Commission, Balai Creative, the Zellerbach Family Foundation, the Coreana Plaza Asian Market, Lagunitas Brewing Company, Cultivate Labs, and Viridian Wines. And thank you to our co-presenters, Art Studios and Gallery, from where we're streaming live. Everyone, thank you so much for your presence today.
So to start us off, I'm thrilled to introduce our first reader for the evening, Diana Fu. Diana Fu is a playwright, essayist, and Pushcart nominated poet. Her work has been published in Spark, a creative anthology, Yemisi, Sky Island Journal, and more. She has written, produced, and co-directed an original play about gentrification in Oakland, California's Chinatown, titled Tears at the Margins. Diana is a passionate advocate for environmental justice and equitable access to the arts. Please welcome up Diana.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
It is so nice to be in community with you all here tonight in person. I am super excited to be sharing some of my poetry. This first poem may just set the mood for tonight. For anyone who's read Minor Feelings by Kathy Park Fong. This is a poem in response to her book. I am constantly misbelonging, leaving my tail behind like a lizard escaped with the shorter inches of its life. I am running out of energy to regrow myself, to replace what I've lost through forfeiture. So many deaths beneath the paper cuts. I wish I could say, I'll leave it all behind, molt and shed the ugly so hard for others to look at. But I'm not a snake. In the mirror, I am forever yellow, the color of underripe fruit that displeases the palate, the feeling of velvet stroked the wrong way. A slight inconvenience, rarely do I declare myself primary, colored in the discomfort of others without apology. No explanation of it as reclamation, as rebellion, as rediscovery, or recalibration. To be yellow is to be so tired of screaming regret and whispering revenge. This next poem is called Moving On, and trigger warning, there is mention of sexual assaults metaphorically, because it's a poem. So. My bones don't move like they used to, not since they've learned to carry woman on them. How to walk on the street. 1, keep eyes forward. 2, step with purpose. And 3, don't be a victim. I know better now. When night descends on me like plastic bag, I hold my breath to know its casual intimacy and taste that seam between life and what once was. I've forgotten how to move on, but I remember how silent violence can fall, how slow the sun can rise. How comfortable that bag felt overhead. The stars, once in sweet paralysis, fell to tears at my feet. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a worker in the environmental field, so a lot of my poetry has environmental themes in it. I used to work in the Bronx borough in New York City, and I used to work with the Bronx River, which is a very special water body to me. And this is a poem for one of the areas along the river. So this is called Tide at Hunts Point. At low tide, the river is called to sea, like daughter to mother. We are stranded on shore, naked and left in all we wanted to forget. The pilings of docks protruding like crooked teeth from muddy gums. Car bumpers and tires watch the sun chase tide, both descending to a mystery called horizon. Away is a lie we tell ourselves, and the tide returns knowingly. I have 2 more for you. One's just a fun one to read, and the other I just always like ending with. This one is called Confession, and I wrote this when I was 16. Yeah, teenage angst. Yeah. Young love. He was a mouth breather, 6'5" and lanky. Ooh, he was a string bean rolled through a noodle press. He was barely normal height when he hunched like petrified tree, all gnarls and bends. I watched those pigeon-toed steps, those wood-knot knees and slim ribbon hips, pulling like steam locomotives, sputtering and stuttering. I loved his corners and edges secretly as he bagged groceries and sipped Coca-Cola. And never have I wanted to be a soda can so badly. Actually, I'm not going to read the one I usually end on, unless I have more time. I don't know how much time I have, but this one's called at the Hayward shoreline. In the Chinese tradition, each generation shares a name that becomes another word in the family poem. But we, children and grandchildren of the revolution, we have gone nameless. Think of a cord braided hundreds of kilometers long, cut short by some bloody scissors. We are that lost end, loose and unraveled, growing farther and farther apart, unable to weave ourselves together again. At the edge of the shoreline on our adoptive motherland, we hold each other's estrangement. In fog, we're grounded by the sounds of things with wings. The plunge of a cormorant breaking water, the rattle of sparrows in the bush, and the wails of planes overhead, finally coming home. This one's called Ongoing and Leaving Again. I spent an entire summer out of a suitcase between temporary walls and 9-hour sheets. I lived out of boxes. I ate out of paper. In searing September, I was Greenleaf 20, packing to leave again, all the butchered cuts of me splayed out on the floor. To pick and to choose what would be left on a hanger or taken on my shoulders, empty mascara bottles, dog-eared books, men's t-shirts, and 3 tendrils of basil. Fragile, spared from knives when they began to root. Although I know these were fleeting, the corpses of my life there in decay, at least I had the next place to dream about, another bed to sleep in, one more chance to die, and to leave something behind. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Diana, for that beautiful reading. We give her another round of applause. Really appreciated the heaviness as well as the humor. It was a wonderful mix of both. And what a wonderful way to start off our evening. But next, I'll be introducing our next reader, Erin Fay. And Erin Fay is a graduate of the creative writing programs at UCLA, UC Davis, and the University of Oregon. And he serves as an associate editor of the Grand Journal. A first-generation queer Hong Kong Chinese American, he currently lives in Davis, California, and works at the Consortium of Humanities Centers and Institutes, as well as the Dean's Office of Arts and Humanities at UC Berkeley. We love to welcome you to the stage, Erin.
Hey, thank you guys. I'll remove this. Never seen you before. It's so funny. Great to be here with you all. What a warm welcome. And tonight I'll be reading from my novel that I'm working on, and it's called The End of Mothers and Fathers. At last, Lily confessed that she was halfway to her goal weight, then rolled her eyes at herself. Only then did the office allow Lily to turn down the longevity noodles that glistened under the twinkle of the LED chandelier, now that they had her problem to solve. Let's talk about, she began to pivot with cheer, then could not conjure a good enough subject. Never mind what she wanted to talk about. The air grew thick with ideas about what Lily could do to reach the target kilos, fed by their extremely accurate memories of what she had ate at the office. The only thing interrupting this flow of thought was 4-year-old Amoeba, devouring her noodles with gusto. Lily turned to her little girl, making the sounds of a beast, and wrecked the earth with a scowl. Don't eat so quickly or I'll beat you to death. I'll beat you. For Walter's employees, this was an everyday picture of mother and daughter, and Lily's words barely registered in their ears. The marketing manager and one of the senior producers went down the usual list of diet and herbal strategies for fat burning. Isn't there a worm that can live in your stomach and intercept the calories? Foreign women exercise to lose weight, no? They asked Walter. Don't they become too bulky, too manly, don't you think? You're lucky to only have a son and that he's so tall from drinking so much milk. Lily entertained the suggestions with a smile and stood to serve the two ladies. Though she was no longer youngest on staff, she poured the tea and liquor. Walter knew better than to help Lily defend herself. He no longer held that right. If it ever came to firing her, he would need to ask Boss Yen, her father-in-law, to do the deed. Today was Walter's 60th. The whole office journeyed to the one acceptable Cantonese restaurant in Shanghai, down an alley away from the neon and clamor. Walter made sure to be the one to order. Mainlanders picked the same timid things, fatty pork riblets, a sad fish, and then complained about imbalances in their gut. Where were the sauteed chrysanthemum greens, the crab legs trusted in spice, and what about the tureen of consomme to finish? His mother, who once dined across from Stalin in this very same neighborhood, would not have him eating tomato and eggs for his birthday. To death, I'll beat you to death. His mind automated Lily's words into several languages, with English winning the prize for most vile. Bringing a little girl to death. In English, there were thoughts that became barbaric. He felt this conviction that English was the bluntest tool in the toolbox. All those necessary pronouns that made it crystal clear who was going to beat whom. It made no sense to tell a child you were going to beat it, unless you're ready to do the beating, which Lily was not. Uttering the threat invalidated you as a parent. Beat the child or say nothing. Their liaison to Beijing stood. It's a good thing you're not coming to Harbin with us. Their flour contains more protein, but somehow everything there tastes light and sweet like cake. Your diet would really be in trouble then. Like many monks before him, Bouncer had grown fat over the years. He stared at her thick forearms swept with coarse black hair and grazed the surface with a forefinger. Lily sat so still that Amoeba looked up at her, afraid her mother had died. Lily's face wouldn't lose its plumpness even if she did diet away the weight. She shifted in her black dress, and the fabric slid tightly across her black stockings like a professionally made bed. Years ago, Walter had plucked a button from her skirt that he still kept in his wallet. Clint was not on hand to pay for another surgery or treatment. Walter once teased her for the double eyelid surgery and for trimming her loose thigh skin, both gifts from Clint. Being fat would soon be back in style, Walter used to tell her, as it had been just 100 years ago. Or perhaps soon there would be all-out war, and war always increased the value of robust women. Since losing Clint last summer, Lily and Amoeba moved back in with Lily's parents. She found new pleasure in doting on them, regarding their texts like divine messages, returning every evening for her mother's insulin readings. She adopted the dress and manner of a Victorian widow, all vintage lace and veils. She had re-preserved herself, but not well, not properly. You can't throw thawed meat back into the freezer. With the absurd warmth of a Santa Claus impersonator, Walter called Amoeba to his lap and taught her to fold a bra out of the cloth napkin. Amoeba undid the careful origami and formed it again, flopping it around her lap like a dying fish. She held the bra to her chest, extending the ends into distinct nipples. Don't be so disgusting, warned Lily. Can I look at your bracelet? Negotiated Amoeba. First you want the bracelet, then my purse. Next will be Uncle's wallet. Then you'll ask for the waiter for his paycheck. It was the first Lily had referred to Walter all evening. Lily took Amoeba back and began braiding the little girl's hair as a sort of punishment. I don't want everything. I just wanted the bracelet. You promised the bracelet. I didn't ask for more than you promised. Walter interrupted. You're both very talented at talking. Be more talented at eating. But maybe you should join us in Harbin, said the senior producer. Extreme cold freezes fat away like liquid nitrogen on a wart. The precious protector would say not to overly worry this issue of the body. This is all temporary, of course, an illusion, said Bouncer, waving his hand over their feast, which suddenly represented the world. It's a question of health, said the senior producer with exasperation. There are dangers if she doesn't change her ways. Lily's smile became uncanny as she stared down each person who contributed to the discussion. There are faces that one is not born with that emerge through hardship. One's own parents looking down at their newborn creature can never predict the contortions their child's face will have to learn in order to survive. In time, it will be impossible to fully read their every expression. The distant clangs of the kitchen served as the backing track to Walter's irritation with this incessant woman who he felt he knew better than she knew herself. You can't throw thawed meat back into the freezer. This was what Boss Yen had said to Walter with fury after last seeing Lily, his daughter-in-law, after finally accepting that his son Clint was gone, fallen off a roof, or disappeared into misty mountains, or eaten by sharks. She must be sneaking food at home. She appears so disciplined, but losing weight is just a question of math. Calories in, calories out. The problem is not the pounds Bouncer unleashed. It's the depressing way she dresses. Look at that black lace dress, her black leather purse. She even coordinates all the office supplies in black. It's true, said their accountant, the eldest here. When I go to the bank with all black folders, the clerk thinks we all belong to a cult. We really have to cut it out. Aloof to the main conversation, the media intern asked, what's for dessert? Sesame dumplings. We better change the name. We better change the order to black sesame or she won't want to eat them. They all called Lily by her Chinese name, an old-fashioned patriotic name that sounded poor. But honestly, seriously, pressed the accountant, how long will this go on? Who can we introduce you to when you're like this? Bouncer began laughing at this latest thought before expressing it. Obama's brother lives in Shenzhen. Did someone think to invite him tonight? He's just the right color for her, pitch black, perhaps the only rich black in this country. If we call him now, he can catch the last flight to come and seduce her good and properly. The smiling eyes around the table stopped darting from Bouncer to Lily and back again. The glint of the chandelier got caught in the swirl of the soup, and the mind's eye unwittingly stripped Lily of her chosen blackness and shoved her into the warm, muscled arms of a black shadow. Even Walter looked away from Lily. Again, Bouncer spoke. Ayo, she's upset. We better be careful or she'll leave us to work for Darley. Walter saw the toothpaste brand's packaging in his mind's eye, the Al Jolson type gritting his chompers, the black of his top hat blending into the black of his face makeup. And Walter remembered as a child when the man's lips were not black, but a sensuous red, which made the white of his teeth even more pronounced, the promise of the packaging being one of contrasts, one of dreams across continents. As Walter looked away, the sound of the rain caught up to his ears. You have sauce on your dress, Lily told Amoeba, still sitting in her lap. Now you've done it. She dipped a napkin in water and worked at the stain. The little girl sat there in full inhale, her flesh bursting against the waistline, and let loose a primal shriek. Lily dragged Amoeba to a standing position on the chair and took up a metal spoon to whack the backs of those little legs, moving quickly and inevitably towards her bottom. The child collapsed in dramatic pain and the spoon fell to the floor as mother and daughter wrestled. Yet another dish arrived through the door. They scolded Walter for stuffing them like animals and then waited with anticipation as the waiter set down the bowl to finally peer into what awaited them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing. I love that little glimpse into those characters and already feel so invested in them and can't wait to read your novel. You'll have to let us know when it hits the shelves. Can we get one more round of applause for Erin? Before I introduce our next reader, I just want to take a quick moment to announce that APAture's closing reception will take place this Sunday. Whoa, we lose our sound. Are we back?
Yeah.
Awesome. APAture's closing reception is taking place this Sunday, October 30th. Right here in this space, our gallery and studios, you can already see some of the amazing art pieces that we have here. And that'll be happening from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The reception will feature the work of our featured artist, Kisu Kwan, alongside many other wonderful visual artists. And we will also have a special performance by Sarah Matsui, along with an artist talk with each one of our visual artists. So we'd love to have your help closing out APAture at this year's closing event. It will be free. Please come through and help celebrate with us. And then up next, I'm so excited to introduce Susan Calvillo. Susan is a Chinese Mexican-American mother of 2020 twins and the author of Excerpts from My Grocery List, which is out with Bearded Bees Press. Her short works have appeared in Nightmare Magazine, Parenting Stories Gone Speculative, Ziziba, New American Writing, West Wind Review, and other charming magazines. Keep reading her work at susancalvillo.com, follow her on TikTok at @beardlessbard, or simply watch her eat cake and plant cacti on Instagram at Susan_Calvillo. Come on up, Susan.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here and everyone who put it together. Really happy to be with you all and to share some stories. I'm going to be reading some from my collection called Animal APAture Robot Rights. It's a nod to unlikely allies. These stories shed light on animal captivity and AI expectations and limitations. What do they have in common? They don't speak our language, or maybe they do if we stop and listen. And I dedicate it to the Cocos and Indumes, which if you've not heard of them, look them up, they are fascinating. I probably won't be able to do some AI stuff. I'm gonna do the gorilla stuff because I feel like giving you some gossip tonight. This is the Diva and the Honeymoon. Part 1. Arranged marriage. Gorillas sense the strain of arranged marriage as well as any bride, sister, or child who enter into such a union without giving their consent. When presented with her suitor, a 400-pound silverback, the leading lady of this story did not skip off to a whitewashed chapel, tremble down a petal-strewn aisle, or stutter at any altar. Still, despite the lack of vows, he was released into her meadow. The ones who loved her most tried to explain to her, "We're doing this for you. We only want to see you happy." But when he touched her, it was not joy she felt, but a sense of duty, the legacy she was to gift this chosen mate, this foundation, this world. From the moment she saw him, it was clear he was willing to play his part. Could he help that it was in his nature? It was what they shipped him here to do. But this was her sanctuary. This was her body. She ran the show. The shriek that followed was a different kind of consent, the plea for death before rape. She sank her teeth into him, accepting the consequences. She tried to tear him to shreds. They've been living in separate trailers ever since. Part 2. Pet names. Adopting kittens and sign language are what most people think of first when the star figures of ape society come up in casual conversation. After all, she's not just a celebrity, she's the celebrity of their species, the ambassador of all gorillas. Those who know her personally might remember a different side. Those who take care to keep her in the limelight, to give her cues off camera, to capture her good side, to monitor her figure, to track her diet, they might tell a different story. The caretakers call her the diva behind her back. The world revolves around the diva, all 7 acres, and she knows it. She rakes in the big bucks, always entertaining visitors, humbly accepting donations. Of course, people can't visit unless they gift a shit ton of money, and the caretakers are generally good judges of how much a shit ton would be since they clean the cages. It isn't all bad. Every day, the caretaker with a capital C, lets her out into the field. Ferns sprinkle the grounds against a backdrop of eucalyptus trees and a nearly invisible mesh fence along the edge. It is peaceful. No neighbors, no wild disturbances, no cigarette butts flicked into the yard, no lovers' quarrel bleeding through any walls. As the cool grass tickles her ankles, her mind drifts easily to sex. She thinks about it all day. There's nothing else to do, not when no one else is around. Not that she was ever truly alone. The caretaker lingers to confide in the diva, as if they were friends. The guy she's dating forgot her birthday. When she insisted he make up for it, he bought her a Hostess cupcake from 7-Eleven, as if that alone warranted a booty call. The diva doesn't even pretend to feign interest in her bad romance. The grass gets trampled as she paces. Some days, even 7 acres looks small. That mesh fence keeps things in as well as it keeps things out. Eventually, she gets the hint and leaves. A barrier always separates the caretakers from the gorillas for everyone's safety. Mesh fence for the field, gate doors in their trailers. Doors are only open to let them in and out for feeding, cleaning, playing, sleeping, and only when guaranteed that they are on the farthest side of the trailer, the farthest part of the field. Back inside, the caretaker brings the silverback his lunch. She changed her shampoo and soap to natural scents so as not to arouse him. She is careful not to wear her perfume. Others drop his food and retreat quickly. They scramble to lock the door before he can ram the gate. Now he holds gallantly still, as if all too aware of her frailty. He sits patiently on his haunches on the opposite end of his trailer. He does not take his eyes off of her. He listens while she cries. It isn't much to ask for, and it's more than anyone else has done. When it's his turn in the field, they play tag together, even though technically they can't catch each other, being separated by the mesh. In the days, weeks, months that follow, they watch movies, read books, take naps together. They celebrate birthdays with gluten-free cake. She never asks if he plans to use her to escape, or if perhaps she gives him a reason to stay. She simply starts calling him her honey man. It catches on. The other caretakers overhear and use it too. He responds amiably. He behaves when they come with his meal. He drums his chest when pleased with their conversation. Soon the caretaker wonders what would happen if Honeyman's door was left open. Would he wait for her to clock in, sweep her off her feet? Model citizen. Honeyman, as much as anyone else, needs companionship, but it's clear that the founder favors the diva. She gets special treatment, time, attention, resources. It's not sexist, simply the terms of his contract. Unlike his companion, he's on loan from the zoo. They expect him returned in the same condition they sent him. He can't be humanized, otherwise they won't take him back. He's a display item and still must be suitable to display. Zoos take pride in the accuracy of exhibits, true depictions of wildlife in their natural habitat. They can't have animals sign stories through the glass. Hence, Honeyman may never learn ASL. He is destined to remain animalistic, bestial, an honest representation of his species. He's picked up a few signs on his own. Oh, he's clever. The caretaker knows it. It pains her to enforce this intellectual captivity on him, but she knows it's for his own good. One day, when the diva dies, he can be reintroduced to his troop. She's sweet on him, but she could never deny him the chance of a family. In the meantime, worse than forbidden love is forbidden language that bars them from getting closer. They must find other ways to navigate their feelings. Honeyman gives her kisses, blows them through the mesh. She catches them in her empty hand. She can't imagine her life without him. Petting is strictly prohibited unless supervised by the founder. Feeding by hand also isn't permitted, nor is food to be passed through the fence. His bowl is to be filled when he is not in the room to ensure the caretaker's safety. If a gorilla charges, it may trample you. If a gorilla bites, you will face serious injury. But gorillas are naturally quite gentle creatures, especially Honeyman, which is why the caretaker breaks the rules as she pleases. One fateful day, Honeyman drops his banana on accident. It falls on her side of the mesh. She retrieves it. She holds the peeled back firm yellow end and slides it through the mesh to his outstretched palm. As it passes from one to the other, her pale pink finger brushes the fur on his knuckle, and he purrs and purrs. I'm going to say this is part 10. I skipped a few, but part 10. An unlikely escape plan. From time to time, the caretaker sneaks off with one of her coworkers' bananas, thinking he won't notice one missing from the bunch. He never brings it up with her. He has bigger fish to fry. The coworker draws up a document to raise awareness of the gorilla's mistreatment by the founder. He tries to collect signatures from the other employees. The caretaker is shocked to see him so self-righteous, so ready to burn himself on the cross. Doesn't he know they could lose their jobs? She refuses his pen and sings, "Life is a cabaret, old chum, come to the cabaret." She picks up burlesque dancing on the side. It pays in drinks and ego strokes. She can't do the splits, but she owns a pair of fishnet stockings that are. The coworker drops her off after work and stays for the show. She can't see his face in the crowd, but she knows he's there, his eyes outlining her curves. The venue is dark, so dark she can imagine someone else in his place. For all she knows, he's a gorilla, the gorilla of her dreams, watching her dance, practically dancing with her. After the show, she begs him to drop the accusation, to consider who's most at risk if he stirs up a storm. He needs me, she doesn't say. Why don't you leave us alone? She jokes that it'd be better if she buys her honeyman. If she sells everything she owns, it might be enough. Gorillas are cheap, maybe $3,000, maybe less, since honeyman's so old. They could run away to Alaska and have him fight polar bears. At this point, she laughs, then cries. Gorillas have emotions. They express happiness with chest beating, drumming the grass. Apparently, they also do this when engaged in a fight to the death. The caretaker picks up similar habits. She beats her breast with flat hands when her coworker asks her to dinner. She drum rolls the table when he orders her the buffalo steak. He takes her home. After buying her dinner, he feels justified in stealing one of her bananas. After they turn the lights out, he hears her purring in her sleep from across the bed. There's no way to know if she's dreaming of him or her honeyman. He's not one to assume. Most people don't realize she's gone. Her legacy outlives her. It stands in her place. It stands for more than she could say. Legacy. The legacies we leave behind may not be the legacies we intended to leave behind. We exist, and regardless how hard we try to leave no trace, we carve ourselves out of this world. We flash floods of flesh, terrorizing all that is natural, restoring it with greenhouses, artificial forests, indoor plants, trendy rooftop gardens. We leave our mark in the voids, the virtual spaces. Even digital footprints leave physical scars. A mountain of laptops, a river of smartphones, an ocean of plastic, a cloud of exhaust, piling, snaking, becoming, exhausting, outliving us, makers, so invested in solutions that benefit us that we forget the problem, us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. We love gorilla gossip. It has been such a lovely reading so far, and I wanted to say it's an honor for all of us here to organize the event for you. The APAture Festival happens annually and is a festival organized by emerging Asian Pacific American artists for Asian Pacific American artists. And what you might not know is that Turner Street Workshop only has 2 full-time staff members, Jason Bayani and Mihi Kern. Yeah. But what that means is that APAture itself is almost entirely volunteer run. So we appreciate everyone's presence here tonight and ask that if you can, and if you believe in amplifying Asian Pacific American voices, please consider donating the current free workshop tonight. Your proceeds will go for ensuring we can continue to create empowering and loving spaces for emerging artists in our communities. If you're here in our gallery, we have a station in the back. If you're online, you can donate at www.queenstreet.org/donate. Thank you everyone for your support tonight. And next, I'd like to introduce our next reader, Jen Song. And Jen, the daughter of Chinese immigrants, grew up in New Jersey and now lives in Northern California. An alum of Tin House and Bona, her writing has appeared in the Washington Post, The Audacity, Jellyfish Relief, Cosmonaut Avenue, and Waxman. She received her MFA in creative writing from UC Davis, and her memoir in progress. This is a reckoning of myths and migration. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to Jen.
I'm so happy to be here. This is my third time in this space, but the first time in 3 years. So happy to be back. Thank you to Kearney Create for hosting this wonderful event and for all of you for being here. Special shout out to my son Owen and my daughter Zoe. This is an excerpt, mid-story from my memoir. The Silver Lake of Forgetting. The girl was lying on the ground, caked earth below and a cloudless sky above. A scarlet blindfold hid her eyes. Her hands and feet bound with twine. Struggling to get her bearings, she wiggled her bare toes and inhaled the sweet scent of a nearby apricot orchard. Her horizontal body lay only a half-meter away from the edge of the Silver Lake of Forgetting. The constant shushing sound of the ripples steadied her heart. Suddenly, there was a loud flapping noise near her head. A mighty gust of wind shook the earth, and a celestial winged creature, wider than a river barge, landed next to her, casting a long shadow over her torso with a train of sapphire and goldenrod feathers. The girl lay as motionless as a slumbering python. The creature's hot, sour breath sent a honeycomb chain of hives down her breastbone. You are far from home, girl. The deep, powerful voice spoke in her head, followed by throaty, wild laughter. She recoiled, the spoils of vinegary bile rising in her throat. She had never heard this ancient guttural language before, yet somehow needed no translation. Who are you? She asked. That is for you to answer. You see, this is my kingdom. Well, you can't see, ha ha ha, until you solve the first riddle. I am older than the oldest creature you shall ever meet. You can see me in the sky and in the water, but when you close your eyes, you will think I am a dream. The more you can see me, the more you can remember, the closer you are to dying. My name is an eternal mystery. Zephyr whispers, morphing from tongue to tongue. Hush, hush, hush. The girl felt the vibrating, pulsing earth beneath her skin and listened for the west wind. A soft whistle, faraway bird song. A moth wings fluttering dispatched goosebumps down her arm. A trio of silver carp leapt in and out of the phosphorescent water nearby, graceful as moonlit ballerinas. She remembered her pupua once murmured a bedtime story about a formidable creature who lived on a lake covered in lotus flowers, part bird, part fish, all knowing. Her pupua's voice filled her head, gentle cooing as dreams stirred to life. She wished she could rub the smooth surface of the jade pendant necklace her grandmother gave her when she turned 16, but her hands were tied. She tilted her head toward familiar whispers, and a name came flooding back to her, like an old friend resurfacing from the depths of memory. Pain. You are pain. A lucky guess, the creature hissed. Flash. Sunlight flooded her face the moment the blindfold vanished. She blinked in her surroundings, hypnotized by pain outstretched before her, his eyes narrowing with contempt. The winged beast was even more glorious and ghastly than she had imagined, each gold and sapphire feather emblazoned with the song of an archaic land. The lake behind Ping mirrored his reflection. Slate gray, lethargic clouds cast a shadow over them. The next riddle will be harder, girl. You may know my name, but you do not yet know my power. Tell me, what is the one thing that destroys all creatures, forests and deserts, is stronger than iron and steel, ousts emperors, and raises whole civilizations? As Ping lifted his mammoth wings, a deafening wail shrieking rose on the wind. On the ground, the girl writhed, desperate to shield her ears, but her arms were still bound. She felt like she was forced to endure the grief of an entire species. After what felt like hours, the shrieking subsided. Her eardrums reverberated with pain. She remembered when she was little, her papa would rub a peppermint balm on her skin after a scrape and comfort her with a kiss. Give it time, she said. Even though her papa was long gone, she could hear her honeyed voice clear in her head. She blinked, her lips turned up with confidence. I will answer your riddle, Ping, and you will untie me. You are stolen. You'll be here. You'll be stuck here with me for eternity. She held the creature's gaze for what felt like a lifetime. She looked at the lake's edge and noticed what she originally thought were pearlescent shells and stones were actually chips of bones that had been washed ashore for centuries. What a lonely life. She shivered, a gust of wind carrying an echo from afar. Time. That is my answer. Now free my hands. Ping coughed in disbelief. Luck again. He pointed a wing towards her back, untying the twine. She sat upright and stretched, blood flow returning to her limbs. One last riddle before you can leave. What can bring back the dead, make you cry, make you laugh, make you young, born in an instant, yet lasts a lifetime? The girl closed her eyes and rubbed her jade pendant, immediately thinking of her grandmother and her floral perfume. Near the end of her life, Popo forgot how to cook her favorite rice soup, but she never forgot to kiss her granddaughter's forehead at bedtime. Remember, I love you, she said, smelling of jasmine and honeysuckle. Tears dampened her cheeks. She missed Popo every day. That's it. She opened her eyes. I know the answer, she said. Memory. Memory is what brings back the dead and lasts a lifetime. Clever girl, Ping said. Here's the key. You can leave here, but you will take nothing with you. This is the silver lake of forgetting. You will go back to your world of convenience stores, heaps of garbage, screens of oblivion, where you will forget what is most important. You will forget what it means to be free. The girl traced the outline of the brass skeleton key with a circular ring handle and 3 maze-like teeth. A rush of pride swelled to her head. She had solved the 3 riddles. She was no longer a captive. Then she looked up and stared into Payne's eyes, sensing something familiar deep within. What was hiding back there? She saw gray clouds churning in his eyes. A chill prickled her neck. It was a feeling she knew. Loneliness. His words rang in her ears. You'll be stuck here for eternity. Also, he was the one who was trapped, not her. I don't need the key, she said. I am already free. Here, you take it. King stared at the key and back at her, surprise filling his eyes. You. He was seeing her for the first time. You are the one I have been waiting for. Thank you. King bowed his head. He turned toward the glowing sun, stretching his sapphire and gold wings to their full glory. A steady beat thrummed as he took off, wings beating like tangy drummers. The blazing rays warmed her limbs as color returned to her person and cheeks. She felt lighter, watching Pang soar higher and higher until his whipping tail dissolved into soft, milky clouds.
Wow, thank you so much, Jen. When I hear the word memoir, I usually don't think of mythical winged creatures, and so I just love you bringing all of those fantastical elements, all that magic. One more round of applause for Jen. Right. I am really personally excited to welcome up this next reader because I first met them several years ago through Kearney Street's Interdisciplinary Writers Lab. So I've been a fan of her for years. It's so cool to have them back in this space. Our next reader is Antman Mental Mendoza, pronouns he and she. And Antman is a writer currently based in Oakland, California. His poetry is published in Cosmonauts Avenue, Underblong, and Lantern Review, and is anthologized in Peach Mag's Worlds in Which Speculative Myths. Nomadic Press will publish her debut chapbook, My Boyfriend Apocalypse, in 2023, and pre-orders just opened, so go order it right now. And please welcome up Antman.
Hi, friends. I'm tall. Give me one moment. Woo! Caucasian. Okay. All right. I'm gonna read a few poems. This first one is Time Machine from 3008 to 2008. Dearest you, sleep is abundant if you allow. I might be lodged somewhere between those easy cycles. I might wear something garish to you, my olive green socks, my Velcro secured sandals. I could startle the fawn of you, but know this. We share a bed with a lover uniformly unmade. I am a remaking myself. Kilometers of stitches and sitting meditations away from a former ruin. You can dance, you can ride a bike, you can swim, you can cook, you don't need my permission. In you, the regard for yourself. In you, the want and the engine. In you, the humility and the knowledge I have no advice worth your taking. I can grasp, I can grasp, I can grasp, I can hope to hear it back to me. This next one is called Self-Portrait as Manananggal in Cahoots. And everyone should have a right to a safe abortion. Cry, scream if you must, name me monster. Tell your father, your man, warn them you wake to the sound, my beating wings filling your womb and pulses to my tongue, wormed into your body's beginnings. Tell your husband what was his was stolen. What is his is damaged. Let him believe it was a tragedy. Let the face of that tragedy be mine. Tell them it was darkness herself in the flesh. Tell them what you must to survive the night. Let them hunt me. Let them draw their evidence. Let them say my skin steams in the sun, but live in the wrong, but live like the beast I am, preyed upon your most precious thing, but let your most precious thing be the fact that you live. And calling me monster is the only way to make sense of the doors I open. Tell them they can find the half of me, vulnerable at dawn's breaking. I pray you live, sweet one, I pray. My webbing wings, gnashing teeth and entrails, slow train dragging from my gut are gruesome in the story you tell. I pray you leave this place and I pray you strike fear in your hearts before you do. Let me read a little bonus one I wasn't planning on reading. It's about roughhousing and Bart. And the name is from a Barbara Kruger untitled piece. You construct intricate rituals which allow you to touch the skin of other men. When you could construct ritual offerings to me, dress yourself in blood, sit on each other's laps anyway, touch my skin, roughhouse on the crowded BART car, lace your fingers around the circumference of your boy's wrist, enough heat to hold you through the week. In the dorm room, ask your roommate what kind of porn he likes. Show him your favorites. Tell your buddy his chest looks really good in that shirt, and holy shit, his quads. Touch the men whose flesh draws yours with heat, the mirror figures set aflame. Watch the earth tremble apart. Watch how I rise. Every limb of mine unfolding, Monstera split. Feel your tongue loll into a melody. Feel your boy lift from his lap and grind yourself there into the finest sand of wine. Virgin blood, pork trotters, polish remover, 4 candles, a book of intentions, salt green to keep me from my den. Lick it, call me home. And I have one more, which is poem about my screen name or ode to the durian emoji, though it is yet to exist.
Yeah.
Not even the actual fruit, but the abstraction of it that sits alongside brown, Asian, Southeast, island, and humid. I tasted a fresh durian one time in the bukid and thought I didn't like it. More than liking how it tasted, I was just tickled to bear witness. I've had it mostly in smoothies I buy with a banh mi or in lieu of a milk tea. I adore the divine feminine yellow cream custard, the trans profanity of the skin with spikes, the savory queerness of a stink pig odor. You know how on Grindr tops use eggplant emoji and bottoms use peach emoji? What if those parted lip emoji wrapped around my durian emoji? What if my durian emoji said, touch me, touch me, touch me? What if my durian emoji sang the shittiest sex playlist, all ABBA songs, with double and triple top titles, Kate Bush in an Australian accent, Whitney and Mariah on the Prince of Egypt soundtrack? What if my durian emoji said, look, scratch, sniff, don't touch? When I say durian emoji, what white man part of you wants to tell me about your travels? To Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, keep going. You haven't said the right one yet, but you know you'll guess. You love your Asian boys. You know your Asian boys so damn well. So you give me your lumpia after midnight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ant-Man. What a great reminder to level up everyone's emoji game. And next we have our featured artist for this evening, who is no stranger to Poetry Workshop. She was a showcase artist for 2 years and is returning for a 3rd year as the feature. I'm so thrilled to be welcoming Christine No, who is a Korean American poet, filmmaker, and daughter of immigrants. She is a Sundance alum, Vona Fellow, a 2-time Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net nominee. Christine is interested in the power of storytelling at the intersection of health, healing, and community. Her first full-length poetry collection, Whatever Love Means, is available via Barrel House Books. I can personally guarantee you won't regret making that purchase. You can find her on the internet at I am Christine No, or you can see her right now. Welcome, Christine, to the stage.
No. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, hold on, mic on. Right. Wow, I'm Christine. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a super honor. I'm always saying that like story is what defines us in the world around us. And I think that as children of immigrants and as people of color, when we start to look at our own stories, it's not just ours that we're looking at, but stories of so much that has come before. And when we start to reckon with that and we're able to harness that and rewrite many of them, we're able to find ways forward both for ourselves and for those around us. And Kearney Street has always been a place that has enabled me to do just that. It's been an incubator, it's been a launch pad, it's been a platform, and it's always been a soft landing. And I know that so many of you can relate to that as well. So, and I also know what it takes to create that space and to sustain it. So thank you so much to Kearney Street. I'm gonna read y'all some poems. All right. So I do a lot of reckoning with myself, sometimes publicly, but so I guess a lot of these poems are about that. This first one is called Channel Orange. I call it that because it's the color of the chloroform that I used to take a lot of. And maybe you guys know what this is. White and orange mornings get me up, keep me standing long enough, sometimes a victory. The afternoon round and halved raises my baseline, levels my threshold. When the world is too loud, a peach in my pocket reduces all feeling to the sound of a TV in another room. It's a warm thing. I don't mind it, but it's hard to write things down, a price to pay. I don't remember names or things that have transpired before or are transpiring now. The significance of most is lost on me. But I am told this too is the science of the moon and the stars and the tiniest neurons firing. I'm not sure what makes sense, is real, is anything. I'm not complaining. It's nice to be here. I used to smoke cigarettes. I think I feel things sometimes, or I know what I should be feeling. I can rattle off a diagnosis. I tried to be a hypochondriac. I should have been a pharmacist. I promise I'm not wallowing. There are words and terms I still enjoy, but I don't think I'm much the writer anymore. Thank you. I mean, and here's some more stories. This is called Grounding. 1. I hold anger like my mother, wedged between shoulder and spine, where wings should have sprouted but didn't. Where the nubs grew over skin and feather, left her back hunched, her lips pursed, her gaze squinting elsewhere but sky. I hold it like disrupted prayer, 2 palms clenched, or an unfinished poem, impatient, pacing. I hold anger like my mother who did not have poetry, who felt the itch of becoming, plucked each new feather and stuck around, filled the emptiness with other beasts. Anger like my mother who did not have poetry, no words to tell me why. 2. Mother, my wings are heavy with beasts I have carried, as I have seen you do. I learn by sight and feel, and like you, I am deaf to caution. Mother, I have discovered a word for those who fly away, wisdom and hope for those who stay. 3. My daughter will be born a wingless thing, like her mother, like mine. I wonder if hers will sprout it off, if she will fly. Or if woman after woman, the body has forgotten how. Groundling, do not discard your wings. Hope alone will not provide. But should they never come, do not stick around and place your anger between blade and bone. Do not shoulder the empty beast and stay. My groundling, remember the house of your own embrace. Remember your 2 feet and walk. This is a poem about climate change. Our last fight, both of us hooked on acid and the bathroom can. Madness. Someone outside screaming, do you even know where we are right now? De-escalation is a handy trait, but how could you say I love you and mean it? The moment is past anyway, you see it now, don't you love we're history? We did this to ourselves, we saw it coming, the old wives' tale repeated adage, our mothers unresolved and jumped regardless. The plumage, the flume, this furnace, these feathers, how cliche. Please don't leave that part out. We were doomed from the start. Disrupted weather patterns, this whole clusterfuck, hey, future dweller, nostalgic robot, this body, this world, this whole thing is a trap. Nothing thrives here. Don't bother. Thank you. I'm just gonna keep on talking. This next poem is called Prayer for the Sea. I am a woman abated, a city block upturned, 4-alarm fire, tongue held in a cage match. I am a phone call refused, an exceptional facade. It takes a village to raise a monster. I am a whole village raised. Oh, executioner, show me how you got inside. Show me where the fire started. Show me where I lost my wallet, where rot began, where fester left a bloodbath, whole auditorium spellbound, gasoline in the drain, head severed, all ventriloquists dragged and quartered, tongue evicted. Mumbled a tone-deaf hosanna, dumbfounded, Lord save us, this world is open season. Whole intersections stopped at massacre and crosshair, the corners unaccounted. Bless our valiant failures, late bloomers to the schoolyard, the sitting duck alone. This world is open wound. Lord bless the prodigal arson, the self-appointed executioner, the vengeful sullen queen, they come hunting. Glory their inheritance, pockets full of teeth and evidence, and Lord bless the rest of us, the blissful useless. This world is open season, easy targets, slit wide, open wound. And won't you keep us helpless onlookers, our best intentions, our wrung hands, our rubbernecks. Like I said, I did a lot of reckoning with myself, I think, throughout my time as a writer, and also a lot this year. And yeah, a lot of like, a lot of healing. I'm not just angry. And I did want to say, thank you so much to the other readers. So like, I also think that, you know, as storytellers and artists, we're always kind of like running around with what we've made and going like, this is my human experience. Is it like that for you? You know, and I think it's kind of always this like conversation and validation. And I'm sitting there feeling so super validated and so super seen. So. Okay, this is called Echo Chamber. This hallowed worm, this hole in your chest, you dubbed yourself chasm, love. And I, the apple of your needle and thread, and I, an arrow home, the sticky sweetness of a wet mouth pierced, rotting fruit, still a meal, and I, a heart worn, broken sugar. Inside you are holy, and inside you are poison and soft, inside you are a cavity, and I, an invasive species. Inside you I am home, inside you I have found an alchemy, turned poison into prison, into isotope to a solitude, blooming wide, taking room. Inside you I am as vast as the sea, pungent as the fruit, too heavy to hold, a bone white drying, a dead tree still leaning into the cold, high twist and gnarl its whole form of fists or branches or hands outstretched to praise its state, stalled or evolving regardless. Inside you, I was twisted once. I was afraid once, feigned dancing. Once I could not give or take more space, I wizened up, shrunk to size and small, and learned that lonely does not mean alone or incomplete, even without. So I bore down further inside the seam, undid the void between lift and lid and lie, and found whole worlds stacked within my particularities, elementary. Discovered multiplicities, capitals, necropoli, canyons, tomes of unresolved cosmology, and puzzled parts I'd pull apart, each lonely facsimile smiling still. I caved, I cried, I melted glaciers a long time. Now I am a softer landing. I am a solemn magic necessary, no longer born of need. I have always been so worthy. I meant to say, Inside the doors, inside your head lies another hole, another vaulted heart asleep. It dreams of floats and a flight of deep down and untouched you, holier than you and I then and now, older than eternal, ephemeral and deeper still. You and I, an echo chamber, a hall of mirrors, you and I staring wide at one another and another and another and. Thanks. We all that moment after a poem where it's like. I have two more poems for you. Let's see. This one is called Namesake. No, my name in Korean is Noru, and it's the common word for sunset. But more specifically, it means the crimson glow of dawn and dusk. And then you guys have heard the like little rhyming thing, red sky at morning, sailors morning, red sky at night, sailors delight. Okay, cool. Namesake. One. Namesake, your hesitation lingers, pink horizon of past already. Sunset, daylight cannot be contained. What is wild cannot be lost or claimed by designation. An organized personhood is still of your own free will. Getting out of bed at all is a display of hunger. Walk long enough and far, you are bound to run into your heart, always the last place you look. Here is your origin. Here is your home. Here, your two small hands to hold back an ocean, still the storm to cry out, namesake, your father is gone, endlessly moving west, move on. Do not shout for the echo back. Forget the man who called you unlucky, called you a failure where light forgot. Forgive the men that you could not love, but foolishly tried. You are not wrong. They were each bristled stiff, ready to wolf you whole heart. And here is a dagger, do not spare another. Two. Red sky from morning, the storms in your mind are of your own making. Look to your hands and quiet them, hands that kill and cure, hands that pray like children reach for other hands that span the years. The sight of your hands, a testament to miracles, crimson glow of dawn and dusk. Here you are a simple metaphor. Rush hour traffic, another day's end, a nicotine trawl, the same sorry tread. Elsewhere, you are the first slow blink, unfurling color for running, you are blue, rewarding the earliest of birds. Elsewhere, you have just begun to rose gold the sun, linger there, unnamed, neither day or night, where your father is a lover, careful, curtains drawn, a dawn, a promise meant at the time. Your mother is a dream, her lonely spine peaceful, a silhouette unaware. And you, her shadow, still the sea. Oh. And this is the last piece, and it's kind of, yeah, I've been struggling to come out of the pandemic and kind of rejoin the world. Like I've been a really slow struggle about it, and it's been kind of freaky and like it's been like a very halting process. And you know, all my other friends bake bread and speak French. Consolation prize. No longer the broad definition I used to go by, I've gotten off the internet. Snapped in March to critical acclaim, a woman on the verge once, wedged now between a crown of thorns, an angry mob, a virus on Godzilla on the populace. I was primed for an elegant return, a yellow sundress, a violent concerto, not this grindhouse nightmare. Is it my fault? I understand we are all of us fucked, but I've been upstaged. They say in order to transform, you must turn yourself out, ride inside a chrysalis, completely lose your shit. Late bloomer, you've outgrown yourself in your 30s. Hail Mary, you must delete your Twitter, disappear a while. Explain this gap in your adult life. I fell asleep inside a month-long nothing, spent months longing to leave this world as a last-ditch spaceship seen here, crashing just shy of landing, just short of discovery. What if it was water? So what about it? I got blood on the carpet. I tried to hide it, skipped a few meals and liked it, perfected this art of getting in the way. I'd meant to rejoin the world last season, thought I'd catch up come springtime, then summer, it's autumn again. The wild birds have come and gone, and I remain an earthbound thing. But the Golden Gate has learned to sing. The last of the butterflies landing and taking off again, no one's complaining. And bless the rain, drunk all summer, long past due on the orange horizon, nobody plans it. Perhaps I too could go south a while, learn a new trick, find a new face, a name that finally fits, try my hand at other beats, allow myself to dismount, I'd stick the landing. Maybe I could excuse myself. Maybe I too could be known for something else. Thank you so much.
Christine, that was so gorgeous. What a beautiful collection of poems. Let's keep it going for Christine. It has been such an honor, Christine, to have you as our featured literary artist for APAture. We're so grateful for your powerful work. You're as a poet, as a performer, you're just so wonderful. Thank you for being here. And thank you again to all of our readers. I'm going to shout them out one more time, give them one more big round of applause. Diana Fu, Erin Kay, Susan Tavio, Johnson, and Edmund. Please, we encourage you to support these incredible writers by following them on all of the platforms, buying their work. A few of them have books at our merch table in the back, so pick up copies and keep an eye out. They're always working on such amazing things. Also shout outs to my fellow planning committee members and curators this year, Paula, Jane, Mark, and Juan. Thank you also to the help of our volunteers that helped make this possible. Tonight we have Andrew, Anna, Claire, Shannon, and Leanne. Thank you, volunteers.
So every year, APAture is very much a labor of love, and we love to see you all here supporting us. You know, we appreciate the other members of the General Planning Committee, all the other volunteers, and of course, the community here for really showing up. If any of you are interested in getting involved more deeply with Kearney Street Workshop or continuing to support Asian Pacific American artists, please sign up for the Kearney Street Workshop mailing list at kearneystreet.org/mailing-list, or send the Kearney Street email at info@kearneystreet.org. One last thank you to ARC Studios and Gallery. Our APAture closing reception is just 2 days away, the day before Halloween, so don't get too crazy. The closing reception will be here at Art Gallery and Studios from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And please join us in celebrating APAture and come watch us, each of our visual artists give a short talk about their work.
Thank you all so much for joining.